program. Yesterday we discussed about the first three types of epithelial tissue, like squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, and now today we discuss about the ciliated epithelium. You know very well when we consider the ciliated epithelium in 4 steps. Similarly, in case of the previous types, the diagram, explanation, function, and location. You know very well the columnar epithelial cells are the tall, elongated, with narrow basal end, and the flat, just wider anterior end. In case of the ciliated epithelium, the anterior end of the tall cell, when modified in such a way to form the hair-like protoplasmic, delicate, movable structures. These structures are known as the cilia. These structures are known as the cilia. Now, these cilia used to arise from the small article-like structures which are present at the free end of tall cell. Such structures are known as, that is, the basal granules. Known as the basal granules. You know very well, in case of the columnar cells, the anterior end of tall cell show a thicker border of the striated border. This striated border get modified into granule-like structures at the free end, and these granule-like structures are known as the basal granules. These are cells toward the lower side resting on normally the basement membrane. Basement membrane. Such a cell shows the elongated, single, dark, prominent, oval nucleus generally present towards the narrow end towards the lower side. And this nucleus, it is surrounded by the liquid part of cell. And this liquid part of cell is known as the cytoplasm. Now, this one is the nucleus, and this nucleus is surrounded by the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. Now, this is the structure of the ciliated epithelium. Now, according to the structures, according to the parts present in the ciliated epithelium, it is clear that this ciliated epithelium, it is the modification of column cell. Sometime it is again modified in form of cuboidal cell. In case of the cuboidal cell, the anterior end of the free end bear delicate, protoplasmic, movable, hair-like structures, and these structures are again known as the cilia. When we consider the function of the ciliated epithelium, the main function of ciliated epithelium is to create the movement. Now, this is the function, to create a movement, and this movement carry or sweeps out the material in passage. Materials in passage. Now, this is very important function of the ciliated epithelium, as well as when they are present in passage. For example, when they present in case of the buccal cavity, particularly in case of the frog, as well as the nasal cavity in case of the humans, the trachea, the oviduct, and in case of the vertebrates particularly. Now, can we consider the first passage For example, that is the buccal cavity of frog. You know very well the frog, it is the animal belongs to phylum Amphibia, and this feeds upon the small insect. Sometimes along with some insects, the decayed matter, unwanted matter enters the mouth cavity of frog. At that time, these cilia produces a breeze-like movement, or this movement release, or this movement sweeps out, cleans the buccal passage. For example, in case of the human, they are also present in the nasal cavity. In nasal cavity, there are cilia. You know very well, the nasal cavity, it is an internal passage of the nose, and this passage is meant for the inhalation and the exhalation of atmospheric air. When we inhale the air, this air, it is not clear, but is free from dust particles of the microorganisms of the pathogens. Therefore, these cilia, when they are present in the nasal cavity, these cilia trap such particles, the harmful particles, the unwanted particles, and prevent the entry into the next part of the respiratory system like trachea. Suppose accidentally when such particles enters the trachea, again the trachea is internally lined by the cilia, and these cilia again trap the particles when they are entered into the trachea accidentally to avoiding the trapping in nasal cavity. The next location is very important as concerning the human anatomy. Such type of cilia are also present in oviduct, present in the lining of oviduct. No very well what is the oviduct, particularly in case of the vertebrate. No very well in case of the vertebrate, the fertilization is internal. And generally, the oviduct, it is the place for fertilization. During the process of fertilization, the motile sperms reach in oviduct where the non-motile egg is present. But before this non-motile egg is released in the cavity of, that is the abdominal cavity near the fimbriae, and these fimbriae pick up the ovum and bring into the part of oviduct. This oviduct internally lined by the ciliated layer, these cilia bring the non-motile ovum into the fallopian tube for the purpose of fertilization. It is very important as concerned with NEET examination. The fertilization takes place in oviduct. The non-motile ovum bring about by means of the cilia, and therefore this is the very important location in case of the human or any vertebrate. Now this is the structure of the ciliated epithelium, its location, its function, and the structure. Now, the next type of the simple type of epithelium is the glandular epithelium. That is the glandular epithelium. Glandular epithelium. You know very well what are the glands? The glands are the cells, or the gland is the cell, because the glands are two types, the unicellular glands and the multicellular glands. On the basis of cell number, the glands are classified into the two. The first is unicellular gland, and the second one is the multicellular glands. This means that the unicellular glands are made up of only one cell. The multicellular glands are made up of more than one cell or the many cells. The familiar example of the unicellular gland is the goblet cell. And the example of the multicellular gland, that is, so many examples are there. The liver is the multicellular gland. Again, the thyroid gland is again the multicellular gland. Next, that is pancreas is an example of multicellular gland. So many examples are there, but here we consider the goblet cell. Now before this, again, the glandular epithelium or the glands present or found in case of the human body, they are classified into two types on the basis of their secretion pattern. Their secretion pattern. This is very important on the basis of the secretion pattern. They are again classified into two. The first is known as the exocrine gland, and the second is known as the endocrine gland. The exocrine gland and the endocrine gland. Now, this exocrine gland and the endocrine gland, they are the two very important glands. Before, they are classified into unicellular and the multicellular. But as concerned with the endocrine system or the glandular system, this classification is very important because the exocrine glands and the endocrine gland show the difference in morphology. Here we consider the exocrine gland. What are the exocrine glands? The exocrine glands are the glands which produce some secretions. And these secretions are transferred to target organs. With the help of a canal or duct. Means the exocrine glands are the duct bearing glands. Okay? These glands are the duct bearing glands, while the endocrine glands are without duct. Now, when the exocrine gland secrete the secretions, these secretions transfer to target organ with the help of canal without releasing blood flow. This is a very important character feature of exocrine gland. On the other hand, the endocrine glands are the glands secrete the secretions and release in blood. These glands secrete their secretions, release in blood, and along with the blood flow, these secretions, as per the need of cell, as per the need of function, these secretions transfer to target organs. Such type of glands are known as the endocrine gland. The familiar example of exocrine gland is, that is, the liver gland is the exocrine gland. The part of pancreas gland, that is the exocrine part, again the example of exocrine gland. And the example of endocrine gland, that is pituitary gland, thyroid gland, they are very important glands under the endocrine type. Now, here we consider the first, the example of unicellular gland, that is the goblet cell. Now, the structure of goblet cell. The goblet cell, like this, it is again the modification of the column cell or the cuboidal cell, like this. Now these are the column cells. This one is the nucleus resting on basement membrane, surrounded by cytoplasm. Again in this cell, that is the nucleus. These are three glands, or these are three cells are not the glands. Only one cell is the gland. Why? Because the free end of a specific gland or any one gland forms cup-shaped cavity or reticulation. And this cup-shaped cavity, in this cup-shaped cavity, the secretion of this gland is stored, and this secretion is known as the mucus. Now, this gland is the mucus gland. This gland is the goblet. It is made up of only one cell, and hence we have the unicellular gland. This unicellular gland, supported by the lateral cells, and these cells may be the column cell or the cuboidal cell. Column cell or the cuboidal cell. Now, this is the structure of the goblet cell. It may be the columnar, cuboidal in shape. In each cell, there is the nucleus. The large nucleus is present, generally located toward the basal end. And very important character feature of such gland cell, the cytoplasm is provided with some granule-like structures, and these granule-like structures are known as the secretory glands. These structures are known as the secretory glands. Now, depending upon the secretion pattern, you know very well, these cells are classified into exocrine and endocrine. This is the structure of goblet cell. It is unicellular gland, and the function of each gland may be unicellular, may be multicellular, that is the secretion. Particularly, the endocrine glands secrete the mucus, enzymes and hormones. You know very well, the mucus is responsible, it is essential for the lubrication of passage. The enzymes are responsible, or they are required for the digestion of material, and the hormones are the chemical messages. Now, this is about the glandular epithelium. The next epithelium is known as the sensory epithelium. The next is known as the sensory epithelium. Now, it is again the single layer, simple type of epithelium. It is again made up of the modified columnar cells and the spatially made up of elongated neurosensory cells. The neurosensory cells. You know very well, in case of the ciliated cells, the cilia are present at free end. In case of the goblet cell, there is the depression, cup-shaped depression is present towards the free end. In case of the sensory epithelium, the anterior free end bear the sensory hairs. These hairs are different from cilia because the cilia are meant for movement, and the sensory hairs are meant for the sensation. And therefore, the main function of sensory epithelium is to perceive external as well as internal stimuli. And such type of cells are present in all sensory organs like the nasal organ. The second organ is known as, that is the ear organ and eye organ. You know very well, these are the three sensory organs. The nasal organ, it is responsible for the sensation of smell. The ear is the sense organ which is responsible for, that is, the auditory functions. Auditory functions. And eye is responsible for, that is, the photo function, that is the sensation of sight. Photo function. Such type of cells, the sensory cells, are present in nasal passage, in nose of vertebrates, in the ear, and in case of the eye. When they are present in nasal cavity, their sensation, they carry the sensation, they are responsible for the sensation, they are specialized for the sensation of smell. When they are present in ear, they are specialized for the sensation of auditory, that is the sound, and in case of the eye, they are responsible for the vision. They are responsible for the photo function. Now, there are the various examples of other types of the epithelium. This is the first main type of the epithelial tissue. The next and last example of epithelial tissue is the germinal cell. Of the germinal epithelium. Germinal epithelium. Now, the germinal epithelium is very simple, and the cells of germinal epithelium divide by meiotically. This is very important. They divide meiotically to produce the haploid cells, and therefore they are mainly present in the lining of seminiferous tubule. The lining of seminiferous tubule, that is the location. They are present in the lining of seminiferous tubules. They are also present in the lining of ovary. Lining of ovary. Now, here we consider the location, the first location, very important location, that is the lining of seminiferous tubule, and the second location is the lining of ovary. You know very well what is the seminiferous tubule. The seminiferous tubule is a part of testes, and the testes are the male gonads. There are two testes present in case of the human and in case of the vertebrates, and the testes are male gonads and responsible for the formation of the synthesis of the formation of sperms. Basically, in each testis, number of structural and functional units are present. These structural and functional units are known as the seminiferous tubule. And when we consider the histology structure of seminiferous tubule, this seminiferous tubule is internally lined by such germinal cells, and these germinal cells divide by meiotically and to produce the haploid cell containing n number of chromosomes. This means that the germinal cells are produced from young and young, that is the diploid cell, and these are the two haploid cells. This means that these cells are specialized for to divide the chromosome number in equal. Such type of cells are only present in the gonads, in testes, and in case of the ovary, and they are undergo the meiotic cell division to divide chromosome number, diploid chromosome number into haploid 1. Now this is about the germinal epithelium. The first part of this topic gets over. Here we take just rest. Now, this is the second part of epithelium. The first part is the simple type of epithelium. The second type of epithelium, that is the compound epithelium. In first type, the cells in epithelium are arranged in single layer. Each cell is resting on basement membrane. Each cell shows the fixed end and the free end. In case of the compound epithelium, the multi-layered epithelium is present. And basically, this epithelium is differentiated into the two. The first one is, that is, the stratified epithelium, and the second one is, that is, the transitional epithelium. The second one is the transitional epithelium, and these two epithelium are differ from the simple one with respect to the number of cell layer. In this epithelium, or the stratified epithelium first, it is made up of the flat cells and it is multi-layer epithelium. In this epithelium, only the lowermost layer is resting on basement membrane. Only lowermost layer, only lower layer, and the remaining layers are present above this layer. Therefore, only basal layer resting on basement membrane, while the upper layers are free from the basement membrane. And towards the upper surface, some dead cells are present. In these cells, the cells at the basement membrane and few layers away from the basement membrane containing nucleus. But in case of the dead cell, there is no nucleus. The cells at the free surface are flat and without nucleus. Such type of cells are known as the stratum corneum. The nucleus is present in the stratum germinativum, means these cells are the germinativum cells. These cells are the germinativum cells, and the function of stratified epithelium is the protection, generally where the friction is present. Now, such type of epithelium is present at their locations, generally the epidermis of skin, the lining of esophagus, the cornea, vagina, and rectum. Right, understand? The locations of this epithelium is epidermis of skin, the superficial layer of skin, the esophagus, the part of digestive system, the cornea, the part of eye, the vagina, it is the female reproductive part, external part, and the rectum, this is the last part of digestive system. This is the last part of digestive system. Now, the next type of compound epithelium is the transitional epithelium. This transitional epithelium is the same in structure like stratified epithelium. Means the structure of stratified epithelium and the structure of transitional epithelium is the same. But in case of the transitional epithelium, the cells can change their shape and structure depending on the degree of stretch. Right? What is the difference between the stratified and the transitional? The stratified epithelium reduce the friction. Transitional epithelium perform different function, but it is again the multi-layer epithelium. In transitional epithelium, the shape of cell can change. Means in transitional epithelium, there are no dead cells, only the cells get stretched. And this stretching, it is totally depend upon the degree of stretching. And therefore, such type of truncheon epithelium generally present in, that is the urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. What is the urinary bladder? The urinary bladder, it is the part of excretory system in which the urine is stored drop by drop before micturition. When the urine drop by drop released in urinary bladder, the size of bladder increases gradually because the wall of the urinary bladder composed of transitional epithelium. And therefore, the main function of this epithelium is the distension of organ. Distension of organ depending upon the material present inside the bladder, and therefore such type of cells are known as the stretchable cells or the distensible cells, and the truncheon epithelium is present in such organs. Now, this is about the germinal epithelium. This is about the compound epithelium. And all type of epithelium, the single layer and the multi-layer.